So this is an example of a round stone. This is an example of an oval. So when you're measuring where your bezel height needs to be, right? So this is way too high. That's way too high. That's gonna cover your stone completely. You don't wanna do that, okay? So we're gonna erase that. You don't wanna do that high. So this is too low. That's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna hold your stone in. It'll literally do nothing. A great way of making sure that your bezel height is good is when you're looking at it, once you see the stone starting to curve inward, so like right here on this oval and about right here on this round. So that's the height you want your bezel to be. Because if it's too high, you're gonna cover way too much of your stone. You're gonna have a lot more work to deal with. If it's too low, you're gonna have to remake your bezel entirely because it literally will not hold your stone in. So this is a great height for your bezel to be. I will show an example of this, but I kind of want to draw it out for you guys now. This is your bezel, and that's the sheet of metal that you soldered it on, right? So let's say we try to put our stone in and the bezel is way too high. This is our stone. So let's say that your bezel is way too high. If it is already soldered on the plate and you can't remove it, you can't flatten it out, what you're gonna wanna do is take a pencil, like this mechanical pencil. Gonna want to go inside and draw along the bezel on the inside, just against the stone, right? So you wanna draw on the inside around the stone. And then when you take the stone out, on the inside, there will be a little guideline, right? So we took the stone out, but there's still a little guideline to show us where we need to trim off. So we're gonna sand all of this off so that the bezel will now be at this height, right? And the stone, once it is inside, it'll be just enough sticking out to where we can have the stone sticking out and it's beautiful and pretty, but there's enough bezel to hold it in. I will do a live demo of this. This is just me trying to draw this out. Alrighty, so this is exactly what I was trying to show you. So as you can see, the bezel is kind of high, especially on this side. This stone is an uneven surface. It's not fully the same height at the top. So what you're gonna wanna do is take a mechanical pencil. You wanna place a mark with your pencil and just go in and kind of just draw around the stone on the inside. Make sure it's really dark so you can see it once you take your stone out. And you just wanna get it at every angle and make sure it's at the level where the stone starts to curve inward. So as you can see on the inside, there is a line made with my mechanical pencil. That line indicates how much we need to cut off or sand down for the stone to fit perfectly and have the bezel even all the way around. And that the bezel isn't overlapping or toppled over the stone in an awkward position. So this side looks like it's pretty good. It just needs a little bit of cleanup. This side, as I said earlier, definitely needs a lot done. I'm gonna open this back up and go in with my scissors and just cut along this line that I made. And then that way it's less filing work for me, but I'm just gonna go in with my scissors and just take away the height of that line and then reshape it back around the stone. And then that leaves less work for us to do later on. Specifically, I definitely recommend doing this before you solder your bezel cup and before you attach it to the back plate. Because then, like I just said that I'm about to do, I can open this back up and just cut or saw, and it's so much easier than having to do so much extra file work at the end or using your rotary tool for like an hour just to make sure that it's even and it sits at the right height. Oh right, so already you can see how the stone actually sits above just slightly where the bezel is. You can see how much less work that we're gonna have to do later on. So right here though, I am gonna have to file that down a little bit once it is soldered to make sure that it is like an even dip. It's not like a step down as harsh as it looks right now, but that already just took away so much work that I'll have to do, and I'm very happy about that. So that's one of my little tricks that I think I learned off of TikTok or YouTube. I don't know. I learned it somewhere and I've been using it and it works great. That's how I did this stone, was because this was the first bezel I worked on, was this ring. And I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that that was something I could do. And I also didn't understand where at on your stone and how high your bezel length had to be and everything like that, how high your bezel had to be, the length of it. So I had a lot of extra bezel length or bezel height that I had to file down, and it took forever. So I looked it up online and I saw that, and then when I was like halfway done with filing, so I stopped, I reshaped it and around the stone and tried it out, and it worked. It left less work for me to do, which was fantastic. I wish I would have saw it sooner. Alrighty, so we have all of our bezels. All of our bezels are sitting flush next to each other. We have them all laid out. I'm just gonna show you the demo on only one and then try and do all of the rest of the bezels at the same time. We'll see how that goes, because I've never really batched created bezels or like anything on my soldering block. So we'll see how it goes. So what you want to do is you start off with your flux. Remember, no flux, no flow. So this is the Auto Flux Silver Brazing Paste Flux. I also use this spray one. It's almost out. As you can see, I need to refill it or get a new one, but it is Flux Heat Shield Fire Skill Preventer, Fire Scoff All-in-One Ceramic Flux Coating. I'm gonna be using this today just because I like how this one works with pieces that have a lot of solder joins. When I have to do a lot of solder joins, I feel like this one works a lot better. And I'm not quite sure why that is. It might just be in my head. I don't really know. So you're going to want to coat the seam that you are going to be soldering. Another way you can do this is laying it out flat. I actually am gonna do that for demo wise, just because I feel like it works better demonstration wise. You take your flux and you want to put a layer just where that joint is going to be. Remember, no flux, no flow. Take your torch, turn it on, and just kind of heat it up a little bit. Heat it while it's bubbling. As you can see, you want it to have that coating of the bubbles. That means that your flux is fully ready to be worked with. So for this specific joint, I'm gonna be using my medium solder. If I was just doing a ring that literally just had that being soldered on, I probably would go with the easy solder, and then when I solder it to the plate, I'd probably use extra easy solder, but I am using medium solder. So when you are doing anything with solder, there are different types of solder you need to have. I have a mix of every type of solder. I ordered an amount of each kind just to practice with and get used to using and understand it. The harder the solder is, the more heat you need for it to melt and attach to your piece. So if you have a piece that has a lot of joints, you know what, we're gonna get the whiteboard out again. So let's say you have a ring that you're trying to encapsulate looking like this, okay? So you need to solder the prongs to the O-ring, and then you need to solder it to the ring itself, right? So all of these joints that you are soldering together, when you're adding your flame to those joints, the other ones can heat up as well. And so you don't want to be adding flame to this joint, this one start to also heat up, and then have them both melt at the same capacity, so your pieces literally fall out. They literally will slide off and melt away. So the best way to do that is to start off with your hardest solder on the joint that will be near the most heat. I'll use my 5-stone ball ring as an example. So I have multiple balls on my ring, right? So this is the ring. There's a big silver ball, 2 smaller balls, and 2 of the smallest balls, right? So this is attached on a ring, right? So when you are starting your ring, I have the band, and then I attach the biggest ball first with the hardest solder of choice. I usually do medium, and I solder it to the band, okay? And then you wanna go in with your second hardest one, and I do it for both of these ones, and I do easy. And then on the smallest ones, I do extra easy. Now the reason you want to use different solders is because when you are adding flame to your So when you are adding flame to your joints, if you have the same solder on all of these, when you're trying to attach this tiny little detail ball, all of the other ones are going to melt off and they're gonna fall off. But if you have different types of solder, so if I use the hardest one here, that's going to withhold trying to take the heat from these ones as well. So you want to work with your hardest one first. The hardest solder withholds the most heat. So it takes a lot more heat to cause this one to have this solder to melt versus it does this one or this one. So these are the easiest to melt. These are the easiest to attach, and the least amount of heat goes in to attach these ones. That allows these ones to stay in put and this one to stay in put. That's the best way I can explain that with my 5-ball ring. So with all of that being said in my little lesson, I'm going to be using medium solder here because I will have a lot of joins that I need to use solder with and I don't want them to melt. In example, the ring that I'm making with this specific bezel is going to be this ring. So there's a lot of little components I'll be adding. There's gonna be detail balls all around, another bezel for the little moonstone, and then another detail ball. So to prevent this from melting or anything like that, I will be using the solder, one of the hardest solders I can. Get my solder ready. I put it on the edge. So I'm now gonna melt the solder a little bit where it forms little balls, and I pick it up on my little pick, and I'm gonna go in and attach it. Oops. And I'm gonna go in and attach it to my bezel. All right, looks like it's on both sides of that bezel cup. Perfect. All right, looks like it is done beautifully. As you can see, it is completely soldered, and I can let this sit out and cool to make sure that it fits my stone well and start down the sanding process.
Midnight, driving in the cities I've been. Up calling you, baby, my eyes wild from the passenger side. White sheets, your hands, they go where I go. Palm trees, swaying out the window, I'm tired, but stay up just to stare in those eyes. In my past life, erase it and start over. You know that you made me. Want you to forget yours too. You're giving me a run from the money, sweet like honey, ocean white and blue. You're giving me a run from my heart is gone forever. I just lost it in you. I lost it in you. And lately I've been terrified. Wanting you is scary. I know that it is rare to find. You make me aware that I could have forever verifying. I love it when you tell me that I do. Falling for you is my point of view. Yeah. Giving me a run from my heart, sweet like honey.
I switched to this kind of headgear because my neck hurts, and so it allows me to sit upright and hold my piece like up really high so my neck can lean back. I don't want to get a hunch in my back when I'm like 30, so so yeah, back to polishing.
So one thing is, because I already added the bezel setting before hammering it, it was kind of a last minute decision. I can't really hammer that close to the bezel, so there's a little bit of the portion of the band that isn't hammered. So the way that I'm going to emulate that is taking my rotary tool that is the finest grit and going in and just holding it down to just emulate the same dimples and ripple effect that hammering gave the band. It's just a little trick on how to do that. Alright, so I am going to clean up this mess before I start setting my stones. I'm drying them right now. I went in with my red jeweler's rouge and polished them all up, so they are, polished them all up, washed them with some soap and water, so they are ready to go. Here, let me go on the white side so you can actually see what you're looking at. Very, very shiny, very, very pretty, loving all of the pieces. Cannot wait to see them set. Oh my word, I am terrified. I have all the stones in their places and I'm about to set them. I am so scared that I will break some. Oh no, I dropped one. So because of the nature of the earrings, I can't really clamp it in my vise or in my ring clamp. The way that it is, it's so like low and flat that I can't clamp it like that without damaging it or it just popping out. So I seen this online and we're gonna test it out together. This is just a wood block that I used to use for my wax stuff. I would put my little candle in this. And right here is Dop wax. So I use Dop wax for my gemstones when I am polishing and making my own gemstones. I am going to melt some Dop wax here and position my piece inside of it. Because it's the back side, I'm not gonna worry about it because I can polish that after if there is any leftover wax. And amethyst isn't an absorbent stone, so I think it'll be okay. So we're gonna test this out together. So I'm gonna take my Dop wax. It's like a stick of, it's like a stick. It's hefty. I'm gonna attempt to do it with my micro torch, but I'm not gonna worry about the angle because this is something I'm like testing. Maybe I should move the wood out of the way. Okay. So heating it up. Oh yeah, that's like already. Wow, that's going really fast. Oh my gosh, this is kind of scary. Oh my word, this is literal. Okay, okay. It scared me. Okay. So we have that. I'm gonna place that away on the side while it's still hot. And I'm going to let that cool a minute. Just a little bit. Just a little bit, just a little bit. Okay. Okay, I'm blowing on it. All right, I'm going to pop it in. Okay, looks good. It looks fine. It's secure. I'm gonna let it cool. No, I'm gonna actually, let's see, do I have something I can push it up? Here, I'll use my X-Acto knife. I'm gonna push it up against it just to really secure it in. See, I see an engraver on Instagram do this. I'm actually gonna take my stone out. It's getting a little hot. I see an engraver use this exact method where she does this to her pieces so she can engrave them. So I'm not really worried about it ruining my piece just because I've seen a professional do it and that's her method of doing it. Yeah, it seems pretty sturdy. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna push it down just on this side so it's not fully covering the part that I have to push the bezel over. All right, that looks good. Nice. Cool. Guys, I'm so upset. I know I'm learning and like this is great for learning purposes, but I'm in the middle of setting this stone and this is the one that I added the little flower to and it popped off. I'm glad that it happened here instead of if someone bought it and the flower popped off later on. But I was so excited. It looked so cute. I'm so sad now. I will definitely be using it in the next design. I think I'm gonna try to go with another orange-ish stone because I really liked how that looked with it. But anyways, I can't reattach it because I've already like pretty much set the stone almost all the way. And either I can completely redo the ring, cut the stone out, and redo it and attach it again, or just continue setting it and put it on something else. Because opals specifically are very heat sensitive. So if I tried to solder it back on, the opal inside would crack. Like it would probably actually explode. And I'm not being dramatic. They literally explode when they're under too much heat. So I'm very upset right now, but that's okay. It's still gonna look really cute. I can use it on a different design. I'll be in the market for some Mexican fire opals, like such. Oh, I'm so bummed. I'm bummed, but it's a great learning experience. And again, I would rather it happen to me than to someone who bought the ring. Ugh. Well, this is the end of the day. I've gotten 2 done. I need to resand the sides on this one. I scratched it up a bit. So I have the opal done, Amazonite done. I kind of have the earrings done. They need to be polished. I need to continue setting them. I'm literally having to use my bezel rocker and then hammering it. As you can see, I have to hammer it down. So I hold it in my left hand, I use my right hand and hammer it down to push the settings, and it's taking a very long time. But we will get there. This is the only one that's actually like done. It looks really clean and crisp. I'm very happy with how it turned out. The other one's not so much, at least for now. But I'm very tired. Yeah, definitely a lot of cleanup I still left to do, and finishing the settings and everything. Ugh, it's taking forever and I'm so tired. But it is, what time is it? It's like 9 something? 9:05, and I have work tomorrow and I'm gonna try to go to bed early. I also babysit tomorrow, so I don't think I will be working on this tomorrow, but definitely Friday. Hopefully I'll get this done before the weekend. But yeah, here's where we're at.